Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I still don't know what the revenge is for. We are gonna jump right into this, but I would like for you guys to keep in mind this is what I call my universe reviews. I take a set of movies and or TV shows and review them based off the universe they set up, more or less commenting on the events that took place in an in-depth fashion. The beginning of this movie, for me, is quite entertaining. So it's safe to say for the first 23 minutes, everything is solely set on Jedi, Anakin, and Obi-Wan bantering back and forth, R2 being amazingly flexible with the tasks at hand and being the comedic relief, more than animated characters that deliver lines as if they were a part of a cartoon than a feature-length movie.
Do it. Jedi scum.
But the plot revolves around the final showdown between Anakin and Obi-Wan against Count Dooku, who kidnaps the Chancellor. So this whole thing from the time frame that I described is one big, extended battle sequence with all its complications. Honestly, so much happens. I'm overwhelmed just thinking about it, having to describe it to you, so I'm kind of going to give you the Cliff Notes version. Anakin and Obi-Wan make it to the ship after an extended sequence that is showing them getting to the ship. That was actually a lot of fun. Once there, they find the Chancellor and then engage with Dooku. And once again, Obi-Wan is outmatched by Dooku's Force abilities. Why? Seriously, he never wins with Dooku. Anakin comes in and, well, dances around the idea that this is probably Dooku's last battle, and then it happened. Well done. Good job, Lucas. You went there. I mean, of course, Anakin regrets it, but he immediately is convinced by the Chancellor that he did the right thing. So it's like, oh, I didn't want to kill that puppy. He bit your leg. Oh yeah, you're right. Let's go get some coffee. So the rescue is on, and after this event and that event, we meet General Grievous, who is the leader of the droid army. And to be honest, he is actually my favorite character. I really enjoy him. I never watched the Clone Wars, or the movies, or the TV show, so when I saw him, I was just highly entertained by the coughing and the wheezing and the bold, dramatic entrance and how he survives every situation he's in. But more cartoonish things happen, especially with these droids that seem to be having more feelings and sarcasm with the situations that happen around them.
You're welcome.
Like I said, very cartoonish. So if my description for Grievous isn't enough, then you should see that Grievous escapes this situation. Anakin and Obi-Wan got him pinned, and of course he gets the heck out of there. Which leads to Anakin piloting a crashing ship onto Coruscant. And that, my friends, you have been introduced to what you're in for the next 2 hours. A lot of cartoonish characters, hammy dialogue that is effective for what kind of movie this is. And what kind of movie? Rushed job that should have been more revised? At least the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin is funny. And we progress to the next set of events. Anakin reunites with Padmé to tell him wonderful news. She is pregnant. And Anakin takes that surprisingly well. Grievous moves the Trade Federation separatists to a volcanic planet in light of the situation of the loss of Count Dooku, but Sidious makes it clear that he has Anakin in mind. Cause if there was ever a fourth wall breakage, it was this moment.
Soon I will have a new apprentice, one far younger and more powerful.
Cause nothing screams, "I want Anakin!" than that scene right there. Anakin has a vision that Padmé dies in childbirth. So much for taking it well. And then you see what motivations Anakin manifests when receiving these premonitions. He talks with Yoda in a scene that I actually personally love.
Mourn them do not, miss them do not. Attachment leads to jealousy. The shadow of greed, that is.
Now, while I understand this line of logic, it's funny how much the Jedi have to swear away to be pure Knights of the Republic. Qui-Gon wasn't kidding when he said it was a hard life. So in the end of Attack of the Clones, Mace and Obi-Wan both agree with Yoda that they are going to keep a closer eye on the Senate. In doing so, this has led suspicions towards Palpatine and how close Anakin is getting to the Chancellor. Chancellor begins his deception by making Anakin his personal representative. The Jedi Council grant Anakin to be on the Council, but not grant him the rank of Master.
What?
So it's kind of like being a manager without the pay, I guess. So during the council, in a tactful way, Yoda agrees to go to the Kashyyyk planet, which holds the Wookiees. And, well, it's a nice callback. There's kind of like a war strategic reason why they can't lose this planet against the droids. So I guess it makes sense. It's just a nice little cameo appearance from Chewbacca and the rest of the Wookiees. We see there's a culture. But outside of the council, Obi-Wan asks Anakin to report on all the Chancellor's dealings. They want to understand what Palpatine is up to, which adds further confusion for Anakin when Palpatine has been doing nothing but kind acts towards Anakin. So you can see where this is starting to build up to something, kind of using Anakin as a pawn when there's no intention of making him so, but Palpatine has his reasons, the Jedi have his reasons, and Anakin is just really caught in the middle. So now the Chancellor sinks his claws into what he can control with Anakin and tells him what he believes the Jedi are trying to do.
The Jedi Council want control of the Republic. They're planning to betray me.
I don't think that...
Anakin.
And this was a very excellent, riveting scene. Probably the best scene ever scripted in exposition, manipulation, and power to obtain control.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
I really love that scene. So, alright, moving forward. Jedi locate Grievous, and Obi-Wan is sent to apprehend him, or at least stop him. And all I can say is every conversation between Anakin and Padmé just gets worse and worse. While they convey how Anakin feels is probably the most forced way of conveyed feelings I have ever heard. I get it. Anakin is overwhelmed, stressed. People are worried about him. So, yeah, I think we get it. Let's just watch the conflict unfold. Let's not remind each other that Anakin is stressed. We finally get to the showdown between Obi-Wan and Grievous fighting, and we finally see Obi-Wan fight and not lose considerably before he is choked, punched, and tossed away without seeing his true fighting potential. The fight is exciting at first, but then it just gets sloppy. What is better than a lightsaber battle? A chase sequence between these two. But before we see this chase sequence and the prospect of Grievous possibly neutralized, we should see through to the events of the Chancellor stepping down after receiving this news that Grievous could be stopped. And if that be the case, the Chancellor should be removed from office. But the Jedi want to see how he'll take this information. They send Anakin to the Chancellor to tell him this news, and, well, the Chancellor's like, I don't want to give up this power, and I know exactly how not to. Hey Anakin, I'm the Sith Lord, and I can save Padmé from dying. What? I don't like what you're doing, but I like what you said. Could you repeat that again? I can save Padmé from death. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to threaten you. Yeah, well, if you can save Padmé, that'd be great. Let's get started. You're a weird child. But actually, beyond my jokes, it was actually a very riveting scene. I really like that scene. We finally get to the chase scene between Obi-Wan and Grievous, and it comes to a close very quickly, and Obi-Wan kills Grievous with a blaster.
So uncivilized.
Anakin goes to tell Mace Windu that Palpatine is a Sith Lord. It's moments after that scene we get one of my favorite, absolutely terrific scenes that conveys no dialogue, just contemplation and music from John Williams. And that scene conveys more than any piece of dialogue thus far in any of these films. Mace Windu confronts Palpatine without skipping a beat. Not only does the Chancellor show his true colors as Lord Sidious, he goes full Hemi mode. His voice changes and expressions go into overload. What could have been full-on intense sequences with the Chancellor turn into a stiff, weird, and force-fed reminder of what Palpatine can do. It goes from badass,
in the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
to aggravating. How in the hell do 3 Jedi die so quickly, leaving only Mace alive? Then we watch what is noticeably the obvious replacement for an Ian McDiarmid to fight Samuel Jackson. The fighting can go from smooth choreography to stiff movements. How do you go from this to this? Wow! Those facial expressions, though. Wow! So Anakin arrives, and it's make your mind up time. Who does Anakin choose? Jedi or Sith? I'm gonna say Jedi. Of course, Palpatine tries to kill Mace by using his lightning, but it deforms Palpatine. And I think it's safe to say we're not gonna call the Chancellor anymore. It's just now full-blown Sidious. But of course, Anakin chooses the Sith side. Damn, I really wanted it to be the Jedi. I was banking on that. I put money on that. Cuts off Mace's arm, and then, you know, Palpatine goes crazy. Excuse me, Sidious goes crazy. Kills Mace, and, yeah, that whole scene was such a mess. And then it's just assumed that Anakin is going to join. Like, Anakin's like, oh my god, what did I do? And Palpatine, Sith Lord, Mr. Bad Guy, oh my god, why is there so many names for just one person? Lord Sidious makes Anakin pledge his life and then says, by the way, that whole thing with cheating death, we'll have to learn it. I don't know it, but we gotta learn it. So are you still with me? Good? Okay, alright. So, you're actually now Lord Vader, by the way. I just pulled that out of my ass. Not without reminding him that if he does all these things, if he does his bidding, it can save Padmé. Oi. So, Anakin is now Darth Vader. No meaning. He's just called that. Why? And Anakin is tasked to go to Mustafar to wipe out the Separatists and the Trade Federation. Sidious executes Order 66 and the clones now begin to turn on the Jedi, killing them. All of them. And here I gotta say, despite the corniness and abrupt transitions, it does get a bit emotional here. Jedi are being seen wiped out, and the music swells. We see exotic locations in various ways. These Jedi die, and Yoda conveys this pain extremely well. Well, of course, Yoda doesn't die in this, but he won't let the clones take him out, so he decapitates them like a boss. Now, here comes to the most controversial aspects of the film, Anakin killing the younglings. Many would say that this is probably the biggest turning point for Anakin, while some others would see it as cruel and insensitive, not leading him to be that cold, calculated leader we knew. He's just an asshole, a murdering asshole. And while all these things are up for debate, I myself kind of find it a cruel act, but in a way it had to be addressed. And what better way than to tease it and let our minds take over? Doesn't make this choice into plot decision making any good, it just makes it effective enough. Because that's what this movie's doing. Just enough. I mean, look at this kid's reaction when he asks Skywalker for help.
What are we going to do?
It's frickin' heartbreaking. Senator Organa receives word of the rebellion and sees firsthand what it's bringing. And bringing him up actually is a lot more important than you think. So Yoda leaves the Wookiee base. Organa is now involved in hopes to help the Jedi before things get worse, and Obi-Wan escapes and meets up with Senator Organa. Anakin is far into the dark side by this point, and he lies to Padmé about what he saw. He doesn't tell her what he actually did. So when he tells Padmé he's going to the Mustafar system, it's in hopes to end this war, but Padmé kind of has a feeling that something's up, but she's really not getting it yet. Yoda, Organa, and Obi-Wan figure out what they need to do since this treachery has begun. Organa is invited to a special meeting or gathering of Congress, and can I just say, since when does evil rise that everyone else starts acting evil? The Chancellor is requesting your presence at the special session of Congress. Alright, I'll be there. He'll be expecting you. So Obi-Wan and Yoda go to recode the message for the remaining Jedi to stay away. But Obi-Wan wants to know who's responsible for the killings. And he finds out. Obi-Wan conveys his pain rather woodenly. What was effective was what was before that when they found the Jedi all killed. Now that was an effective scene.
Not even the younglings survived.
I only just wish they used similar music to convey Obi-Wan's shock and heartbreak. Yoda goes to confront Darth Sidious, or Lord Sidious, again. It's all the same evil names, it's just scheming and plotting, and hey, by the way, because I'm evil now, I got a new name. And Obi-Wan reluctantly goes to find out where Anakin is, and the only person who knows is Padmé. Of course, Padmé hears the horrible truth but has a hard time believing it, so Obi-Wan leaves, only to sneak aboard the ship that Padmé gets onto to go and confront Anakin herself. And here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for. The confrontation between Obi-Wan and Anakin is finally here. Even a face-off between Yoda and Darth Sidious. I didn't even know I wanted that. Now, to be honest and upfront, the road to this moment has been a messy one. The reinforcement to keep the conflict up hasn't been quite paper thin, but it's enough to believe there should have been more dire reasons for these two to need to sort out this lightsaber fighting. Instead, it's just wooden dialogue.
My new empire! Your new empire?
So I can overlook all of that for the sake of knowing that these two are where they are and where they need to be. And that's the final showdown. That's fine. I get where they're both at. The fighting breaks out, and it's one of the most fast-paced fight scenes I have ever seen. Well, it's fast-paced, and at the time it was the fastest. Better movies have come out since then. And that's what the movie does really effectively here, is cut between Yoda and Sidious fight and then Obi-Wan and Anakin, keeping it fresh and engaging and being far from boring. But it does come out to this moment where Anakin and Obi-Wan fight, and it goes on for a bit too long. These are two skilled Jedi, so it takes a while for either one of them to get hurt, so naturally you get a long fight. But the obstacles that they go through and the surroundings of their fight was breathtakingly well done. Yoda and Sidious hash it out for a bit, but not before they start using the Force for a little bit, you know, kind of going, haha, look what I can do. No, look what I can do. But Sidious gains the upper hand and, well, Yoda plummets to humiliation. He escapes professing he failed, and he must go into exile. Meanwhile, back on Mustafar, Anakin and Obi-Wan are still fighting, but this bridge that they go on collapses and they go down a river of lava. Things get pretty intense, but the fight lasts on and on. Finally, Obi-Wan reaches the high ground, and I guess it's a good point to stop and realize that maybe that is a good point. When you get the high ground, you're really kind of done fighting. Someone's got the upper hand of you, but I never really thought about that. It's weird. I really would like someone to break that down for me. I wonder how that is the advantage. So Anakin leaps up to exercise his newfound power when he gets a rude wake-up call that today was not that day. And Anakin is now a burnt meat with the side of burnt fabric. Yeah, I know, it was a bad joke. So Obi-Wan lets out a speech.
You said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them, bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
Good speech, but I'm sorry. Anakin isn't listening to this. So leaving him for dead and believing that he died, Obi-Wan leaves with Anakin's lightsaber for later purposes, which we'll get into at a much later time, and Obi-Wan makes his way back to the ship and meets back up with Yoda. There's a lot of meeting going on here. Obi-Wan and Yoda are told of Padmé's condition, that is, she's simply losing the will to live. So they find out that, to their surprise, that Padmé is carrying twins. She quickly names them Luke and Leia. No thought into this? No, just spit out 2 names and you're good. Done. Darth Vader didn't want you to name them Luke and Leia, but he doesn't know they're alive, so who cares? So putting the suit on Anakin, now Vader, was cool, but rather convoluted. Because it's just kind of like picking out names which seem to come so naturally, so the attire does too. Because it was like, sorry Anakin, but we have this suit that will help your burns and help you mobilize better during your recovery. I wanted the suit to be white. Too bad for you. We had this picked out for you. We've been waiting for years for this to happen. Fine, just put the helmet on me. I can't breathe.
Remarkably fits. Thank you.
Tying up loose ends, Yoda and Obi-Wan and Organa both decide to split up the babies. Organa takes Leia, Obi-Wan, of course, takes Luke, and he, of course, gives them to Owen and Beru Lars on Tatooine. Owen does make an appearance in Attack of the Clones when Anakin was looking for his mother. I did forget to mention that, but all in all, things just kind of now take a hiatus. When they really wanted to wrap things up, they really wrapped it up. They just went, oh, by the way, Death Star plans, which was given no name in this movie, actually, is now well underway with no explanation, and the character Grand Moff Tarkin gets a cameo. And that's it. The ending, while suitable, just wrapped up all the ends because we knew it needed to be that way. The ending, I felt, was just a little lackluster and not well-founded. Yes, it needed to get to this point, but why on earth couldn't they have been a more compelling reason to see things into play? An entire plotline could have gone to see the Death Star. Darth Vader's suit could have gradually come into play throughout these films. The names chosen could have had meaning instead of pulling out of an ass's butt, and they went, I like that. It stinks, but I like it. But this installment was better than Attack of the Clones, for sure. It's even better than The Phantom Menace. I'll give it that. But ultimately, I feel like this is a story that could have been a lot better. The fights are good, but lacked intensity, weight, hell, even gravitas. Everything was done for the sake of fun. But this, my friends, ends Revenge of the Sith, and straight onto Rogue One. We're not out of the prequel phase yet, my friends. Rogue One is canon, and I gotta review it. Stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching. I would love the Universe Reviews to be a part of your world, so if you can, please hit that like button, and if you really enjoy this, subscribe to help further the cause of what I'm doing here for these reviews and recaps like this. And as always, until next time.